I've always been a planner, not obsessive, just enough to keep things steady. So when I told my fiancée Sarah about my upcoming work trip, a 3-day gig in Denver, it felt routine. We talked it over a few nights back, sprawled on the living room rug with takeout containers between us. She'd smirked, her dark eyes glinting, and said, "Finally, some me time. I'm thinking true crime podcasts and all the Chinese food you hate." I chuckled, imagining her buried in dumplings, headphones on, blissfully free of my boring documentaries. It was pure Sarah, quirky, independent, the spark that kept us clicking. The trip was no big deal. I'd be gone Tuesday to Thursday, back by Friday night. She teased me about how she'd survive without my muttering over spreadsheets. "A little peace," she'd said, nudging me. I didn't think twice. Why would I? We'd been solid for 2 years, engaged since Christmas, and trust was our glue. Sure, we had our quirks, but nothing major. Looking back, though, there were hints, small, sneaky ones I missed. The night before I left, we were washing dishes and she got weirdly chatty about the basement. "It's a cluttered mess. Old furniture, my college junk, a treadmill I never use. We should fix it up," she said, scrubbing a plate too hard. "Make it a real guest space." I shrugged. "For who? The president?" She didn't laugh, just gave me this thin smile. "You never know." I brushed it off. Sarah's always tossing out random ideas. But now, that smile screams at me. Something was brewing and I was too blind to see it. 2 days into the Denver trip, I was stuck in a hotel conference room, half listening to a pitch about cloud storage. My phone buzzed during a coffee break and Sarah's name popped up. I grinned, expecting a rant about some podcast killer or a brag about her latest food haul. "Hey, survivor," I said, leaning against the wall, the hum of the lobby in the background. Her voice came through, too bright, too fast. "Hey, how's the tech fest?" Normally she's dry, sarcastic, but this was off, like she was forcing it. "Fine," I said, frowning. "You okay?" A quick laugh, then, "Oh yeah, just chilling. Had mom and dad over for lunch yesterday. They were around, so I thought, why not?" My grip tightened on the phone. Her parents, Ellen and Tom, live 2 hours away in Boulder. They don't just swing by our place in Lakewood. And Sarah knows I'm not big on surprise visits, especially from them. "Lunch?" I said, keeping it casual. "How was it?" She rushed in. "Good, quick, just a pop-in." Then she pivoted. "How's the hotel food?" "Any good." Classic dodge. Ellen's a chatterbox who overstays, and Tom's the type to borrow stuff and forget it, like my socket wrench last year. I've told Sarah, "Give me a heads up if they're coming." She'd agreed. "So why no warning? They just showed up?" I pressed. "Well, mom called last minute," she said, breezy. "No biggie." I didn't push yet, but that perkiness stuck with me. Something wasn't right. Day 3 in Denver dragged, endless slides about data encryption I barely cared about. I was sipping bad coffee, scrolling my phone, when a text pinged in from Mr. Ortiz, our neighbor across the street. He's a retired mechanic, always tinkering in his garage, eyes on everything. "Hey, just FY, it read, seen a couple extra cars at your place past 2 days. You good?" My stomach dropped. Sarah had only mentioned her parents for lunch, not multiple cars, not days. I texted back quick, "Thanks. How many? Anything else?" He replied, 2 or 3. "Saw some bags going in yesterday. Thought I'd check." Bags? Lunch doesn't need bags. My mind spun. Alan and Tom maybe, but who else? I called Sarah, pacing the hotel hall. She picked up after 3 rings, sounding flustered. "Hey. What's up?" she chirped, that fake brightness again. "Mr. Ortiz says there's cars at the house," I said, cutting in. "What's going on?" A pause, too long, then, "Oh, that's just Jess and her guy. They're helping me organize the basement." Jess, her sister, is a 25-year-old disaster, jobless, always mooching. Helping? Well, she once helped repaint our fence and left it half done, paint cans everywhere. "Helping with bags?" I asked, sharp. "Yeah, they brought some stuff," she said, rushed. "It's nothing, just a favor." I didn't buy it. Jess doesn't do favors, she takes. "So they're staying?" I pushed. "No, just visiting," she snapped, then softened. "How's Denver?" Another dodge. I hung up, unease coiling tight. Something was off, way off. By day 3 I couldn't shake the itch. Mr. Ortiz's text, Sarah's flimsy excuses, the bags, it gnawed at me. The conference was wrapping up, just a closing speech left, so I swapped my flight, skipped the hotel checkout pleasantries and headed home. I didn't tell Sarah. I wanted the raw truth, no time for her to prep a story. The drive from the airport was tense, the late afternoon sun dipping low over Lakewood. I turned onto our street and there it was, 2 cars in my driveway, a beat-up hatchback I didn't know and Ellen's old Subaru from Boulder. My chest tightened. I parked, grabbed my bag and stepped out. Lights glowed through the curtains, shadows shifting inside, too many for just Sarah and Jess. I pushed the front door open and it hit me like a wave. Ellen and Tom were on my couch, feet up, watching some game show. Jess lounged in my recliner, beer in hand, scrolling her phone. By the basement stairs, a stack of bags, backpacks, a suitcase, a grocery tote spilling chips. The air reeked of stale popcorn and Tom's cheap cologne. I dropped my bag, the thud echoing. Sarah bolted from the kitchen, a dish towel in hand, eyes wide. "Evan, you're back early," she stammered, frozen mid-step. Her hair was messy like she'd been here days. "Yeah," I said, voice tight. "What's this?" Ellen turned, smiling weakly. "Oh, Evan, hi." Jess smirked. Sarah just stared and I knew, this wasn't nothing. The living room went still, all eyes on me. Sarah's panicked, Ellen's nervous, Tom's smug, Jess's bored. I crossed my arms, staring Sarah down. "Explain," I said, my voice low but firm. She twisted the dish towel, stepping closer. "It's not a big Hannah's place, it's just temporary, Evan, I swear. Mom and Dad's house, it's a disaster. The roof's leaking, half the ceiling's down. They needed somewhere to stay just for a few days." "Few days," I said, eyeing the bags piled by the stairs. "Enough for a month. This doesn't look like a few days." Jess snorted from the recliner. "More like a few weeks, dude. Roofers are slow." Ellen glared at her, but the cat was out. Tom stood puffing up. "We're family, Evan. Family steps up. What's the issue?" "The issue," I snapped, "is no one asked me. This is my house." Sarah flinched. "I didn't want to bug you at work. I thought you'd be cool with it." Ellen chimed in, voice syrupy. "Sarah said you'd understand, Evan. We're in a bind." I turned to Sarah. "You said that?" She hesitated, then mumbled, "I didn't want you stressed." "Stressed?" I said louder now. "You lied. Lunch, a quick visit, now it's weeks?" Tom waved a hand. "Chill, it's not permanent." Jess smirked. "Yeah, relax, man." Sarah's eyes pleaded. They had nowhere else to go. What was I supposed to do? "Ask me," I shot back. "That's what." The room tensed, Ellen clutching her purse, Tom grumbling, Jess sipping her beer. Sarah's lie hung heavy and I wasn't letting it slide. The tension in the room was thick, a standoff with me against them all. I took a breath, steadying myself. "Here's how it's going," I said, voice hard. "You're all out. Tonight. Find a hotel, crash somewhere else, I don't care. This isn't your place to squat." Sarah's eyes widened, her towel dropping. "Evan, wait, they can't afford that. The roof thing's a mess." "I didn't mean." "Stop," I cut in. "You meant to hide it. That's why I'm done talking." Tom scoffed, stepping forward. "You're kicking us out at night? Real nice kid." Ellen clutched her purse tighter. "Evan, that's cruel. We're your family now." Jess just laughed, low and lazy. "Drama much." "Cruel?" I said, turning on Ellen. "Cruel sneaking in without asking. This is my house, mine, and you don't get to decide who stays." Sarah grabbed my arm. "Please just think about it. If they go, it'll wreck everything, us them. Can't we figure this out?" Her voice broke, but I shook her off. "We'll deal with us later. They leave now." Tom muttered, "Control nut," stomping to grab a bag. Ellen sniffed, dramatic as ever, following him. Jess rolled her eyes, hauling her stuff with a shrug. Sarah stood frozen, then trailed them, pleading under her breath. I watched them pack, grumbling, tossing glares my way. An hour later, tires crunched gravel as they left. Sarah lingered by the door, silent, then slipped inside. The quiet hit, relief, but a dark edge too. This wasn't over. The house went dead quiet after they left, a stillness that felt both freeing and heavy. Sarah didn't speak, just slipped upstairs, leaving me with the echoes of slamming doors and Tom's muttered insults. I crashed on the couch, too wired to sleep, replaying it all, her lies, their entitlement, my stand. By morning the air was thick with unspoken words. I was up early brewing coffee trying to shake the fog. Sarah came down later, hair messy, eyes avoiding mine. She grabbed a mug, sat at the counter, and scrolled her phone like nothing happened. The silence choked me until I broke it. "We need to talk," I said, setting my cup down. She sighed, loud and annoyed, barely looking up. "About what, Evan?" "About you letting your family take over my house," I said, voice tight. "About lying. About us." She rolled her eyes. "I told you they had no choice. I didn't think you'd flip out. You're overreacting." That stung. Overreacting? "Sarah, you hid it because you knew I'd say no. That's not overreacting, that's betrayal." She crossed her arms. "Betrayal? It was a few days, weeks, max. You act like I gave them the deed. Maybe you're just too uptight." Uptight? The word burned. "If wanting a say in my own home is uptight, fine," I shot back. "But you don't get to dismiss this." She huffed, back to her phone, shutting me out. The gap widened, she didn't see it and I couldn't unfeel it. Days crawled by, a cold war of silence and snipes. Sarah alternated between ignoring me and tossing guilt trips. "You're still mad over nothing," or, "Guess I'm the villain now." I'd loved her defiance once, but now it was a blade, cutting deeper each time. I wanted to fix us, but the trust was a frayed thread, snapping with every dodge. Saturday I was in the basement, sorting the mess they'd left, empty cans, a sock, when Sarah appeared. "Can we clear this up?" she said, voice softer, almost hopeful. I leaned against the treadmill, wary but nodding. "Sure." She took a breath. "What if they come back? We could set limits, 2 weeks, no basement clutter." It'd work. I blinked, stunned. Limits? She still thought this was about rules. "Sarah," I said slow, "it's not about that. It's you lying, sneaking them in, knowing I'd hate it." She frowned. "I didn't lie, I just waited to tell you. I figured you'd get over it once you saw it wasn't permanent." "Get over it? You turned my house into a free-for-all," I said, voice rising. "That's the point." She snapped. "Maybe if you weren't so rigid about them, this wouldn't be a fight. They're my family, deal with it." That hit hard. Deal with it? I dealt with Tom's borrowing, Alan's hovering, Jess's chaos, for her. "You betrayed me," I said, final. "And you don't care. We're done." She glared. "Done? Over this?" I nodded. She stormed out, packed and left, slamming the door. It was over. The night Sarah left, the house turned into a void, silent, empty, mine again. I sank onto the couch, staring at the spot where Jess had sprawled with her beer, the cushions still dented from Ellen and Tom's takeover. The quiet was deafening, a stark shift from the chaos I'd walked into days ago. 2 years with Sarah, late-night talks, road trips, that ring I'd slipped on her finger at New Year's, dissolved in a single brutal week. I didn't sleep, just lay there, the ceiling a blank screen replaying it all. Her fake cheer on the phone, the bags by the stairs, her deal with it cutting me open. I'd won my space back, but the victory tasted bitter. A week dragged by and I leaned into routine to keep sane. Work from the kitchen table, black coffee at dawn, scrubbing away their mess. I found a chip bag wedged under the couch, a scuff on the basement wall from their junk, a lone sock that wasn't mine. Each discovery was a jab, proof of what I'd lost, but also what I'd escaped. Sarah didn't call, didn't text. I pictured her in Boulder, holed up with Ellen and Tom, spinning me as the heartless bastard who'd kicked them out. Let her. I didn't need their approval, not after they'd treated my home like a free motel. Mornings hit hardest. I'd wake, hand brushing her empty side of the bed, the absence sharp. We'd had plans, a June wedding, maybe a scruffy mutt from the shelter, a life I'd built in my head. Now it was just me, this house, and a quiet I wasn't used to. But there was relief too, slow and steady, seeping in like sunlight through cracks. No more dodging Tom's smug borrowing, Ellen's hovering questions, Jess's lazy entitlement. No more twisting myself to fit Sarah's guilt trips. I'd drawn a line, held it, and that felt like power, even if it left me alone. I started dumping it all online. Some forum I'd found late one night, a place for raw, messy stories. I typed it out, the trip, the cars, the fight, the end. Strangers fired back. "You dodged a bullet, she'll never get it. Good for you, man." Some stung, some soothed, but it was like a lifeline pulling me through the fog. The tough one stuck. "If she can't respect you now, she never will." They were right. I'd glossed over it too long, Sarah brushing off my gripes about her family making choices for us, nudging me to cave. This wasn't just about them crashing here, it was her, the pattern, the trust she torched. 2 weeks in, I took the basement back. No guest room nonsense, just my space. I hauled out their clutter, set up a desk, made it mine. I cooked real meals, steak, not takeout, sat on the porch with a beer, let the quiet wrap around me. Sadness lingered, sneaking up at night when I'd wonder if I'd been too harsh. But then I'd hear her voice, maybe if you weren't so rigid, and know I'd chosen right. The engagement's off, Sarah's gone, my house is mine. Not the fairy tale I'd imagined in Denver, not the future I'd wanted, but the one I needed. I'm still piecing it together, but for now I've got this, my peace, my rules, and it's enough.